Good evening, everybody. It's Monday night, which means it's time to go wild. Welcome to the Time to Go Wild radio show on Halton Community Radio 92.3 FM. We're also live across the world on hcr923fm.com/listen and via TuneIn. If you want to contact the show, do so via social media, Facebook or twitter.com/TTGW radio. We have email, radio@widneswild.co.uk. We have the phone 01928 835 291 and text 07716 672 874. Start your message with TTGW or messages charged at your standard network rate. I hope you're all ready because it's time to go wild. A very warm welcome, one and all. It's Monday night's Time to Go Wild radio show here on Halton Community Radio 92.3 FM. And with me on this evening, we have Andy Winchley. Hi, Andy.
Hi, Colin. You all right?
Yeah. I'm still suffering a little bit of I won't say drinking hangover because it wasn't from drinking, but more of an emotional roller coaster hangover from weekend events, would you say?
Well, it's the joy of finally winning Chuck a Duck, even though you've got a 15-foot advantage over everyone, isn't it?
Yeah. Hey, the number of times I've thrown that duck and it's landed and pinged off to the side. So, yeah, I was allowed my happy dance for that one. I really was allowed my happy dance for the Chuck a Duck this week.
But, yeah, definitely lot going on this weekend, isn't there? And
an awful lot.
Just a shame I'm on my own. I've not got our usual partner in crime with Barry.
So. Yeah, but in a slight change to our usual format, I'm actually going to start with some news. Many of you out there have been made aware of the big statement that came out, I think it was on Saturday, from the EIHA, which I will just quickly go through and read, because this is very important about the future of British ice hockey. And it says, a meeting of the NIHL clubs in Warwickshire today, the creation of a new 10-team division was approved to sit above the current Division 1 North and South. This now new National League will comprise of the Basingstoke Bison, Bracknell Bees, Hull Pirates, Peterborough Phantoms, Raiders, Sheffield Steel Dogs, Swindon Wildcats, Telford Tigers as currently Telford Tigers D1, and the additions will be the Milton Keynes Lightning, who I'm very surprised myself, dropping from the Elite Ice Hockey League to join the new National League, and the new team that will be formed out of Leeds. And that will mean that the remaining leagues also had their proposed membership. Remember, this is proposed membership approved. And for South 1, it will be Invicta Dynamos, MK Thunder, Streatham, Chelmsford Chieftains, Solent Devils, Slough Jets, Oxford City Knights, Bracknell Hornets, Raiders Juniors, and a 10th team to be confirmed. North 1 will be Solway Sharks, Whitley Warriors, Solihull Barons, Sutton Sting, Blackburn Hawks D1, Billingham Stars, Nottingham Lions, and a yet to be confirmed 8th team. And a separate North Cup will be taking place involving Murrayfield Racers and Dundee Comets from the Scottish National League. South 2 will comprise of Guildford Phoenix, Bristol Pitbulls, Cardiff Fire, Peterborough Phantoms D2, Haringey Huskies, Invicta Mustangs, Basingstoke Buffaloes, Swindon Wildcats D2, Lee Valley Lions, Solent D2 and Streatham D2. And finally, the North Division 2 will comprise of Hull Jets, Sheffield Senators, Bradford Bulldogs, Coventry NIHL Blaze, Dragons, Altrincham Aces, Blackburn Hawks D2, Telford Tigers D2, and our very own YKK Widnes Wild. So, in summary, that is the league structure as mentioned as provisionals on Saturday. And it sparked quite a bit of interest, could we say.
There's definitely been two camps sort of set up with it, I think, very quickly.
Yeah. And, you know, everyone's got their feelings on it. There's a very awkward time for it to have been released, right on top of a very important game from the YKK Widnes Wild's point of view, would you say, Andy?
Not ideal with the weekend we were going into. But I think one thing that we need to make sure everyone was aware, it was a league announcement.
Yes.
It wasn't actually Widnes that announced it, so would have been better if we could have held it. On the good thing, looks like, if there is a cup competition, we could be finally having the trip to Dundee we've talked about the last few weeks.
Yeah, that would be an event, and I think our friends from Dundee who visited a few weeks back would be very happy to see Widnes Wild fans up in Dundee.
So yeah, and there's positives we've got to take from it. As me and you've spoken through it, there's teams dropping down leagues which we didn't expect, and it just shows there's a lot to take into account when we're going through this, which I'm sure more will become apparent over the next few weeks, and it gets discussed more and more gets released.
Well, and there were a number of heated discussions. So, fortunately, before the game took place, which is why we're talking about it now, I managed to catch up with club chairman Matt Lloyd, and this was what we discussed.
I've joined Matt Lloyd for a discussion about the new league structure and decisions that have been made regarding the future of the YKK Widnes Wild. Matt, I know a lot of people are disappointed about the fact that the Wild are currently on the list for the D2 North League under the new structure, but there will be decisions that have been made and it won't have been done lightly.
Yeah, I mean, basically the decision that was announced yesterday was based on one meeting, and actually the options are still open if things change. There's nothing to stop us applying to go to D1 if it becomes viable. The decision made at the meeting yesterday was based on previously known information from the beginning of the season, such as the fact that there was not going to be any promotion or relegation this season. Therefore, all decisions were based and prepared for in advance based on that information. Now, if as a club, once the season is over, we want to sit down with the players, the fans, the coaches and everybody involved and reconsider that decision, then we can do. One thing it's important to note, and I've seen the comments on Facebook pages made by some respected journalists. Yes, when we launched the Wild, we did say that within 3 years we wanted to go to Division 1. However, we brought in Scott McKenzie as part of that ambition. However, at that point, other teams brought in new structures. Red Hockey came along in D-side, for instance. And so had everything been as it had been expected to be when we were making our decisions and our plans, then I really believe we would have stood a very, very good chance of making Division 1. Things changed. Scott at the end of that season then left to go to D-side, and we've had to spend 2 or 3 years just rebuilding. However, what needs to be said is part of that rebuilding has been really, really successful under coach Ollie Barron.
Well, yeah, the big thing being, as we both know through our history with hockey, 1 year with a league can change from the beginning to the end. So an entire organisational structure change. And when the Wild formed, of course, it was the Elite League with the English Premier League, as was with D1, D2. And I don't think anybody back then would have foreseen the changes within the EIHA structure. So the original 3-year plan, as you've mentioned, would have been still valid. But then when that changed, I take it a lot of reconsideration had to be taken into account.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there are many, many factors involved in an ice hockey team. For instance, when Red Hockey came in, they took Philip Super. That was a major blow to the team because you're losing one of your best imports and a fan favourite. These things have an impact. In the same way, there's now going to be a Leeds team this season in the new National League. From what I can see, there's no hockey player base in Leeds because there's never been a rink there. So Leeds are going to have to go out and get their players from other teams. So you'd think that's going to probably be Blackburn, Billingham, Hull and Sheffield, because that's geographically makes sense. And whilst that in itself won't affect the Wild, those teams, especially probably the likes of Blackburn, will then have to come and look to teams like Widnes Wild, Altrincham Aces, D-side Dragons to get players to replace the ones they've then lost to Leeds. Now, the issue is, where do the likes of Widnes, D-side and the Aces get their players from historically they would bring players in from their junior systems. We're building a junior system. Mikey is doing a great job. We've got some good players bubbling under. I know there's Sam Anderson, who's training with the Wild senior team at the moment, who's just had his 16th birthday. But Sam will be a really good player, but he needs to get some experience at D2 before he can really get into D1. So players need to be given the right environment, and there needs to be the right trajectory. Had there been promotion and relegation agreed for the end of this season, we would have taken it if that we met the rules of competition, and we would have just had to live with that. However, there was no promotion at the end of this season. Equally, we now have to try and react to a new league being created that up until probably 3 months ago, we had no awareness was being discussed. So again, we have to react to a very volatile, changing situation that we don't actually have very much input into. We're just one of 40, 50, 60 EIHH teams, and the EIHA are trying to do their utmost to make sure they have a viable league structure that suits all the teams from Whitley Bay down to Swindon and Gosport.
The important thing there, as you're saying, is sustainability. Each club has a business model within it to run to. They have to sort out finances to cover appropriate costs. And as you say, it is a volatile situation we're in that has caused the structures to change too much, in a manner of speaking, in the last 6 years. And I do recall in the closed season there being a statement from the IHA saying that there would not be a direct promotion relegation from North 2 to North 1. I'm not sure how that applies with South 2, South 1, but I do remember the statement regarding the North situation. And it's not as though that statement was hidden at all. In fact, I'm pretty sure we even said it on the radio. And that, of course, gives you, or any club within the league structures, a way of building your team for that year. It is one of those things that it can get lost in translation. But what is important is that the focus is on making sure that all clubs, from junior all the way through to senior teams across the country, are sustainable. And it's a very, very tricky situation for both the EIHA and the Elite League as well.
Yeah, I mean, the end of the day is, whether we like it or not, we're in an entertainment business. Sport is an entertainment business. Had we gone up and we then had done disastrously, which I don't think we would have done, but then the crowd numbers would have dropped. And that could have really affected our sustainability. A great example of that is Manchester Phoenix. We'll not get into the whole Phoenix leaving Altrincham, but once their fan numbers started dropping below a viable level, then the writing was on the wall and they ended up in administration. Telford had been in a similar situation, 2 or 3 seasons ago, where they ended up in administration. I'm sure that technically the Dragons were in administrations at one point, or at least the Red Hockey were. There's been a number of teams that have gone into administration. Often the team continues on, but sometimes it doesn't, And actually, I don't want to have a legacy of the Wild having those financial troubles. Equally, as I've said, I think earlier, it's about the players. We know that we've had players that have retired every season at the end of every season, so we can't assume that everybody that's playing now is going to stay on. We know we've got players that have just become fathers. We know players that are coming to the end of their degrees. A great example as well is myself. There's no guarantee I'll be back here next season. I want to be, and that's a very big might. But, I think, as most people know, my health is failing. I've got progressive relapsing multiple sclerosis. And at some point, I'm likely not to have the health to be able to come and get involved in the Wild. So that's part of what we need to do as succession planning, is make sure there is a structure that can take over and do what I do, and the club can continue to build.
It is very important, and within the Widnes Wild organisation, from senior team all the way down, we're very fortunate now with the way things have built and progressed. I mean, I've been involved with the juniors a lot this year, and they've improved week on week, game on game. The crowds for the Wild, especially for a Division 2 North team, are phenomenal. There aren't many clubs around in D2 and some even in D1 that struggle to get as large a fan base, and it is a luxury that we praise and we thank that exists, and we want the club wants what's best for them and want to make sure it's sustainable.
Yeah, we want to make sure it's sustainable. Equally, we want to be challenged, which is why we said that, again, we will look at entering a North Cup involving the Division 1 teams. We did that a few years ago. It wasn't a brilliant success, but we as a club have evolved and changed. And therefore, once again, it's good for us to go and challenge, because it then gives us a feeling of, actually, can we move up? And are we sustainable from a playing perspective in a higher division?
That is very important. Again, the concept of moving up and struggling, you've got to restructure a team anyway. So it is tough for whoever is a coach, whoever's involved in the management, to build a squad year on year, especially when you go from one particular league type to another, and the style of hockey that's played differently between D1 and D2.
Yeah, I mean, when we played the D1 teams before, yes, there were a couple of games that were close, but the D1 teams have developed since then as well. I think that's what people need to remember. If you look at Blackburn, they've got Kovar. He is an immense import. You look at Billingham, they've got Chris Sykes, who's fantastic. You go up to Whitley, they've got a really good team this year. It's not just us that have progressed, it's everybody that's progressed. You look within our league in the past 6 years, it's gone from basically 2 or 3 strong teams and the Solihull Barons dominating in our first 2 seasons to a league. Yes, we're in a good position as I sit here today, but actually we haven't won the league as I sit here today, and there are teams chomping at the bits. We've got 2 or 3 games left for most teams, and there's still a fight for the playoff places. In previous years, the playoff places were pretty much done and dusted, and maybe 2 last teams fighting it out. It's not the case anymore, and from the top to the bottom, it's very close. It's only in the past few weeks the likes of the Altrincham Aces and the Dragons have actually ruled themselves out of the playoffs.
That is very true. I mean, often, as you say, it's either the playoff teams are there, but they're just vying for their slot. This year, effectively, second position in the league is sort of guaranteed now, but there's still 3 teams vying for 2 slots as we sit talking before the game against the Aces. And it is a massive, I think, testament to the quality and improvements in the league that in the last 6 years that I've seen, and I think everyone has seen.
Yeah, and the sport has developed. Years ago the Jets weren't where they are now. Now the Jets are one of the biggest threats. People forget that Telford were originally a D1 team that dropped down. Senators were a D1 team that dropped down. Bradford, years ago, apart from against us, strangely enough, were generally considered one of the bottom teams in the league. Now they're one of the top leagues. They spent the first quarter, half of the season, top of the league. The whole of the league has developed. The whole of Division 1 has developed. Yes, it took a knock in some ways with the 3 ex-EPL teams dropping in. But the teams below that, with the Poor Nottingham Lions being the exception, are very competitive teams. And we're just, if you look at Billingham Stars, they were probably 1 or 2 players away from being a top 4 team.
That's very important, and we've said this again on the radio about within North 1 in particular, the fact that there is a divide between the former EPL clubs that were I'm trying to think of the best phrase, but through luck, good planning, good logistics, have been able to sustain a high quality team that is basically an import or 2 less down from what they used to have, but kept the strong team, which is a much higher standard than you had in the D1 in the past. Now it's rebalancing the D1 league. D2 league has improved and balanced itself out. Would you agree?
Completely. And I think another thing that's worth saying is that the D1 team, even with the EPL teams, actually most of the players, bar the odd one, or in one case, Nottingham Lions, the team, actually generally get paid and they get their equipment. Whereas in our league, most of the teams are pay to play, and even at the Wild, the players don't pay, but they don't get their equipment either. So for teams to balance that up, if we went up, would our players want to get paid? Let's face a few realities here. We have effectively the smallest rink in the country with 340 seats. And we have, looking at the statistics for this season, a 92% average attendance rate, which actually means that most of the time we've 100% attendance, and we've had a few games where there's been big rugby or football games or the weather, where actually we've probably had 80%. It's not as if we can go, do you know what, when we go up to D1, we'll be able to get 200 new fans because we're in a better league. There's nowhere to put 200 new fans in Widnes.
Yeah, it is an interesting consideration, and it's one of these things that has to be taken into a matter of fact. And I think the main thing, for all the fans at this stage in the proceedings is enjoy the rest of the season, enjoy the playoffs, and we know what we've potentially got on the table, but there is some scope for manoeuvrability behind the scenes for a little while, and effectively an official announcement will come out regarding where we stand once the season has finished.
Yeah, let's enjoy the season, get it out of the way without stressing, and then we can all sit down, look at the logistics with the players, with the fans, with the rink, and then we can make a collective decision. There are things that happen that I think that everybody involved doesn't really know the whole picture. Nobody really knew that this new league was coming out. Most people don't know the actual cost of running an ice hockey team. Most people don't know the player availability, and it can be silly things like the cost to travel from Widnes to Whitley is going to be a lot more expensive than the cost to travel from Widnes to Hull effectively. And that's not to say it's about finance, but it's about to say, if we're talking about sustainability and if we want a long-term stable club, we have to make a decision as a whole and look at all the options and have the input from all stakeholders.
I think that's an important message. So we shall finish that part of things. A final little message regarding the end of season for everybody?
Just enjoy it, guys. I sit here today before the game against the Altrincham Aces. My stomach's in knots. Let's get it out of the way. Then we can enjoy the moment for about 10 minutes. Then we can focus, if we're in the position, to go to Coventry and have a right party in Coventry where we will play a Division 2 team. And at the moment, it's looking like the Slough Jets to be the national champions. And then we can focus on the playoffs, which once again will be back here at Widnes, and where we, as the Wild, will be looking to make it 3 on the row and ask for the league to then rename the playoff cup the Widnes Wild Cup.
Well, there you go. Well, thank you very much for joining me, Matt, and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you for all your support and patience this season.
Well, there you go. Very good interview, I think. That cleared up an awful lot of concerns I think a lot of people have been having with an important... If people want to focus on will we go into D1, we have an option still available. It's not been put to bed, has it, Andy?
That's it. I think everyone's worry is this announcement's come out. That's it. It's all done, all been decided, and clearly it's not. And you've got the confirmation there from the big man himself. If once the season's finished, talk to fans, talk to the players, it can be changed and we can look at it.
Yeah. I mean, I've been around hockey 20 years and it's such a fluid sport. Things can change from the start to the midway to the end of a season, as we found a few years ago with the EPL. And again this year with this new National League coming into being, where anything can change. And again, as from the Widnes Wild point of view, we know currently where we stand, members of the team do, and a thing that's important to keep in mind is this press release from the EIHA was put out very soon after the meeting. So a lot of clubs might not have had the chance to genuinely sit down and have a proper chat. So it was a very quick announcement, but double-edged sword in some ways. It's good because people know early what's going on, but on the other hand, bad because you might have wanted to brief people. So it's a very difficult thing to cover.
I think that was one of the big points the other night, that if we had a choice, we wouldn't have put this out first. And as Matt said, just we'll get the season done, get to the end of it. And I think we've got to look at a positive thing with it. I mean, we really do have something special in Widnes.
Oh.
And you yourself have experienced it when it's gone wrong and the team's gone up.
Oh.
And
sadly, too many times.
Things have changed, that's it, and they get in real big trouble. And, we've seen it with a couple of teams in some of the other leagues in 2.
Yeah.
We've seen it with D-side the other year when Red Hockey disappeared. Yeah. And Phoenix as well. It can change so quick. So I think we do have to have an element of protecting what we've got and what we've built. And as they said, I'm going to Alan Partridge it. The word of the day, it's sustainability.
Yeah.
And we've got to make sure it's there first.
Yeah. I mean, one that came to mind, which from a personal perspective was a bit of a surprise, was the Milton Keynes Lightning deciding to change and move from the Elite League into the new NIHL National League. And that was a surprise. But again, looking through their press release, they say they're excited about and optimistic about the Lightning competing in the new league. It's going to be a combination of clubs who have faced each other on previous occasions, some of whom haven't, in teams comprising mainly of British talent and 2 imports. Some old rivalries will be revived and new ones formed. We appreciate that some of our supporters would have preferred us to retain elite status. However, the long-term financial viability of the Lightning franchise is incredibly important to us, and it became unsustainable to compete at that level, the level being the EIHL. And Milton Keynes is a hockey town, and we are determined to maintain a senior hockey team here. Again, sustainability is an important factor that's come into play with Milton Keynes.
And it just shows it's a massive decision to have gone up, done them years in elite, and think, actually, to keep the club here, we need to drop back.
Yeah.
I mean, fair play, it's a brave decision.
It is. I mean, I go back a number of years where Basingstoke Bison originally were members of the now defunct Ice Hockey Super League, played a couple of years in that, and then decided, no, we can't sustain this, and dropped into the British National League. You look at Bracknell Bees, former Ice Hockey Super League. They didn't go into the Elite League. They ended up dropping it now into the EPL and BNL, EPL, into the now new National League. But Basingstoke Bison went BNL, went Elite, went EPL. And clubs are having to do it to be sustainable based on whatever model they can, and that's what we can say with confidence. I think both of us that the Widnes Wild will make their decision with good consideration of every factor.
And no matter which way this goes, if we stay where we are in D2, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because as we've seen the last couple of years, Widnes, new boys into the league, we've absolutely raised the bar on every aspect of this with the team, the game night. So you've got Vince and all the guys who look at, do all the sort of game night. You've got the lights, the music, and it's as if you're up in the higher leagues. And as anyone who's been to one of the away games knows, we are the only team doing this in the league.
Yeah.
You've all the announcements and the filming with yourself, and across the board now, because you've got the highlights for the women's team.
Yeah.
You're doing the announcements with the kids teams, which no one else has. So I think
we as a how can I put it, ice hockey overall organisation, the bar we've set is so high, and the praise we've got from visiting support at all levels is fantastic.
Because when I'm down, in the sort of penalty box and with the players, and we said the other week, they're absolutely in awe when they come out, and there's 350, 400 people. I think Cy Offord, when he first came back, said he couldn't believe the crowd was there to see him play. And because we've now got that sustained, and we've got that week in, week out the same, every other team, especially if we're staying here, has got to raise the bar.
Yeah.
And it's going to get more competitive, it's going to get harder, it's going to get faster. It's still going to be, as Matt said, an absolute show and entertainment. So I think that's another way of looking at it.
Yeah, it will be a quality thing to come and see. It's some people think about putting prices up will increase money coming in, but will it put people off?
But that's the worry if you go up, because you've got to fund it. Everything would increase, and you get that danger where, like the cup competition the other year, if it goes badly, suddenly that base of the crowd, we still get the regulars, but the guys who came in and were enjoying it while we were winning might slowly drop off, and that's when it then doesn't become sustainable and we start getting into trouble.
Yeah. It's so, Andy Schutt sent a few comments in, and he sees the balance between being competitive and cost and the value for money you get on at a hockey game. For any of our hockey games out of Planet Ice Widnes, it's a great night out.
I think one thing to say is everyone in the club would like to go D1. We're not saying it's never going to. We're just sitting here, but we're just trying to protect that special thing we've got, and we'll do it when it's right. If that's the end of this season, when everyone's had the chat, then that's great. If it's not, then we'll just take it as it comes.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, we were chatting before we came on air with a few statistics going back to our first season back in 2013-14, where we just sort of go through them. We finished in that first season. We were 5th placed, played 28 games, won 11, a 39% win.
And that's when we didn't have seats either, was it?
We didn't have seats for a good first sort of third to almost half of the season. So, but we we had a good turnout. I was, again, I've said this a number of times here on the radio and to people in general. I mean, I've been to ED games when I lived over in Hull, and I was blown away at our very first game at the size of the crowd that turned up and stayed game on game and grew. So the first season was a 39% win. The second season, we actually had to play more games. It was a 36-game season. It was a big year, that. And we went from a 39% win to a 56% win, which a lot of clubs
just year two
will bite your hand off to get in just 12 months. That shows quality improvements. I mean, 15-16, Andy, the change is phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you say clubs will bite the hand off. Look at Nottingham, who went up 2 years ago. Have they won a game in 2 seasons?
They did last year, because they were playing D-side.
Yeah,
that was sadly the only team that they were genuinely competitive against, really.
Yeah, and
in season 3, what was our percentage then?
So again, we went from 56% win to 68. Year after 71, and this year we sort of included hopefully 2 wins in the next 2 games. 84% win rate, which is absolutely phenomenal.
I mean, unfortunately, we couldn't get the statistics for the 17-18 season, but when you want to look at league placings, it's 5th, 4th, 2nd. I mean, one of those years, we were 2 points off the title. I think was that last year? We were 2 points, something like that?
Just behind Sutton, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, well, a couple of times we were just off the title place. This year, well, what can we say? We hadn't done it yet in our current timeline of our radio show. No.
Is it time?
So you know what? I think it's time for this. Okay, you've been waiting since the top of the show. It's time for the weekly roundup of scores across the Elite League and related EIHA leagues. Starting in the Elite Ice Hockey League back on Friday the 15th of March. Belfast Giants 4, Coventry Blaze 1, Glasgow Clan 1, Dundee Stars 5. On Saturday, Guildford Flames 3, Dundee Stars 2. Belfast Giants 2, Coventry Blaze 1, Milton Keynes Lightning 2, Fife Flyers 4, Nottingham Panthers 5, Manchester Storm 2, Sheffield Steelers 5, Cardiff Devils 4. On Sunday, Nottingham Panthers 1, Dundee Stars 2, after overtime, Coventry Blaze 4, Fife Flyers 1, Manchester Storm 6, Milton Keynes Lightning 5. Cardiff Devils 2, Glasgow Clan 0. EIHA Women's Premier League action from Saturday. Bracknell Firebees 6, Kingston Diamonds 1. EIHA Under-15s North 3 action from Saturday. D-side 14, Blackburn 4. On Saturday, EIHA Under-13s North 3 action. Widnes 10, Grimsby 6. Moving to NIHL Division 1 North Morley action from Saturday. Solihull Barons 4, Blackburn Hawks D1 7. Hull Pirates 6, Telford Tigers D1 3. Solway Sharks 3, Sheffield Steel Dogs 8. Sutton Sting 8, Billingham Stars 9 after overtime. And Sunday in D1. Blackburn Hawks D1 4, Solway Sharks 6, Sheffield Steel Dogs 3, Hull Pirates 8, and that was the game that meant Hull Pirates were your NIHL Division 1 North Morley League champions. Telford Tigers D1 9, Solihull Barons 3, Billingham Stars 5, Whitley Warriors 4 after overtime. Nottingham Lions 1, Sutton Sting 6. In NIHL Division 2 North Laidler action for Saturday. Bradford Bulldogs 5, Hull Jets 1. Blackburn Hawks D2 3, Sheffield Senators 13. Coventry NIHL Blaze 4, Telford Tigers D2 5. And Sunday, Sheffield Senators 15, Blackburn Hawks D2 2. Hull Jets 13, Dragons 2, and the biggie, Widnes Wild 4, Altrincham Aces 1. And that is the roundup of the results across the leagues for the last weekend. And of course, that big result, Widnes Wild 4, Altrincham Aces 1, was the result that did it. And so, it was with a very, very proud, big heart, I can say, that the YKK Widnes Wild are league champions of the NIHL Division 2 North Laidler League. And after the game, I could only speak really with one person.
Well, I'm joined by player coach Ollie Barron after a pivotal game between the YKK Widnes Wild and the Altrincham Aces. First, congratulations. 3 years for yourself in the making, 6 years for the club. The NIHL D2 North Laidler title. How does that feel?
Relieved, to be honest. Very relieved. I think regardless of whatever team me, Mark, Rich put together, I think to win a league's a long marathon battle, and we've shown that we deserve it this year. We've won it with 2 games to go, and I'm happy for everyone involved with club. Everything about us, the off-ice, the match night experience has been brilliant, and I think it's been a long time coming for time to win this league. All right, we've had success in the last 2 seasons while I've been here with playoffs, but the big one we've always wanted with the league, and it shows that you're the best team in the league when you finally clinch it. And we've got a great dressing room, we've got a great team, we've got great volunteers, great match night staff, everything involved with Widnes. I think it all come together this year, and very happy for everybody involved. It's not just the players, it's the fans, it's volunteers, staff, etc. One big team, one big family, and very deserved this year, I think.
In the game tonight, putting it in perspective, that was actually felt quite a tetchy game at times. Very, very on a knife edge. Both, Altrincham took an early lead, while come back, got the lead in the end, finished the game off. But that third period in particular was very, very, on a knife edge, I'd say.
Yeah, I don't think tonight's game was very good at all from our perspective. I don't know if it were a lot of nerves or that we didn't play as well as what we have done in recent weeks, but not too bothered, to be honest. We got job done, we got 2 points, we won this league, all right. We're going to enjoy it until Thursday, and then we've got 2 D-side games we need to prepare for. And then obviously the two competitions, we're still in two cups, so we've got a national final and obviously playoff final here. We'll go back to work on Thursday. We're going to enjoy it until then. Obviously, it's been a long road to get here, but yeah, game weren't great tonight. But I couldn't care less, to be honest.
I suppose win's a win, points is points, and it's sorted things out with a couple of games in hand to take care of things, so we can make preparations for both Coventry now and for the finals weekend here at Planet Ice Widnes.
Yeah, it's important we continue in this form. We've got two big D-side games, which we're not just going to not turn up to. We need to prepare ourselves now for. It'll be a very tough game against the top at South, whoever it's going to be. It's tight up there, so we'll have to address these D-side games correctly and prepare ourselves for first of all the national final and then playoff final. And it shows the results in our league's been very tight in these recent weeks, and that playoff finals, whoever's hungriest, I believe, will take that title. And we need to get back to work on Thursday, prepare for D-side games, focus on the national final first, and then the playoff finals here in Widnes.
I mean, the atmosphere tonight was electric. It was a really big turnout. The fans were really going for it. Everything just, as we said, in the end, it all clicked, all fell together, and the celebrations on the ice were well deserved, I think.
It's been brilliant every week, fans, Colin. It's crazy, really, to think the amount of support we get, not just tonight, all season, and last 3 years, especially while I've been here. It's magnificent, and they've won that trophy as much as us. They've spurred us on every week and got behind us every week, home and away. So thanks to all the fans, thanks to everybody. Like I say, it's brilliant to win this league, but we've got to focus again now for two competitions we're in and really push on and try and book the trend. I don't think last couple of years league winners has won playoffs, have they? So we'll go for them other two titles, and we're capable of it. So we just need to get back to work on Thursday. But thanks again to the fans and everyone that's involved with the club. It's a big team effort from everybody.
Well, thank you for joining me. We'll catch up with you again very soon. Hopefully more good news. Thanks very much. Have a good week.
No problem. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Well, there you go. They've done it. What can we say?
So close last couple of seasons. It's to finally get it over the line. It just seems a bit weird, and I think there's a lot of relieved people yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, that third period, Vince was trying to get the crowd going because we were all like... It felt a bit flat, but it wasn't. I think everyone was just feeling a little nervous, wanting that once that fourth goal went in, I think it calmed everyone's nerves, because praise where praise is due here to Altrincham. They came short benched, they suffered penalty problems, they suffered injury problems, and they kept going.
I mean, I would say not the strangest penalty I've seen, because we've had that called on us as well.
Oh, yes.
The leaving the blue line during the anthem.
Yeah.
We had that called on us a couple of years ago.
Earlier this year as well.
Oh, did we?
Yes, earlier this year we had that called, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, it's one they've been clamping down on.
It's, strange rule, but there you go, it's a rule.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, they had King 10 minutes out straight away. He literally was back on the ice a minute and straight back off again.
Yep.
And that was the game.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people seen what happened, and he was not impressed.
No, he wasn't a very happy bunny at all.
And then, literally, again, 2 minutes after that, they lost another to injury.
Yeah, so
they had a really tough night of it.
Yeah, but they put on one heck of a show and made a good game of it. But I think now we have to play that song, don't we?
It's got to be done.
Here we go. What else do you play? Queen, we are the champions. For the NIHL D2 North Ladler League champions, your very own YKK Widnes Wild. Okay, we're getting short on time, so we better get on quickly with a bit of what's on. Of course, we've got your usual social media outlets of Facebook and Twitter.com with either TTGW Radio for the radio show or for Widnes Wild. Just put Widnes Wild. Of course, our official Instagram, Instagram.com/WidnesWildOfficial. If you want to drop the radio show any messages, use radio@widneswild.co.uk. We also have two methods of text while we're on air. It's 60066, starting your message with HCR. Or you can anytime drop us a text 07716 672 874. Let us know who you are, and we can put the text into a bit of a log, and we can contact you and let us know bits and bobs. And of course, a shout out to our most treasured sponsors who we've had with us all season. Of course, our title sponsor YKK. And, of course, our other sponsors, Sprakes & Son of Widnes, DMH Tyres, Ruxton Electrical, CL Woodworking, our goal sponsors, Nails by Alicia, and our charity, the Halton Haven Hospice. Andy, what's coming up?
So we've got a few fixtures in the next week. So Saturday 23rd of March, we've got Widnes Under-19s Cross Ice v Grimsby. That's a 4 o'clock face-off. Straight after at 10 to 7, Widnes Under-15s versus Nottingham Under-15s. Sunday 24th of March, a nice away trip for us to one of our favourite places. It's the Dragons v Widnes Wild, and that is a 5:45 face-off. Saturday 30th of March, we've got Blackburn Under-15s v Widnes Under-15s, 6:15 face-off. And Sunday 31st of March, Grimsby Under-13s v Widnes Under-13s at 4:30, and the return, Widnes Wild v the Dragons at 5:30, the usual face-off.
And of course we've got all given the reminders about all the playoff stuff that's coming up.
So yeah, the big one, Final Four weekend in Coventry over the 13th and 14th of April, and that is going to include the D2 North versus D2 South League winners. I believe that'll be on the Sunday.
Yep, that's right.
For the NIHL D2 National Championship. And then we've got the NIHL North playoffs at Planet Ice Widnes, 20th and 21st of April. And if you really wanted to, we've got the NIHL South 2 playoffs at Bracknell same weekend. But why would you want to go there when we're on?
Ah, yes. And of course, we've got a TV game this week, haven't we?
We do, and TV on Free Sports, Wednesday 20th of March, we have Glasgow Clan versus Cardiff Devils, 7:30 face-off.
Well, there you go. Plenty, and don't think hockey season is going to finish at the end of the league and, of course, at the end of playoffs, because there's still plenty of hockey. We've got lots of junior fixtures, we've got women's fixtures, and we've got rec hockey coming. So it's all year round hockey.
I do have to get to more rec games, I'll be honest.
Yeah, so our Riverside Raiders and Halton Huskies will be in action, and hopefully as well some Earl Road Elks action as well. Hashtag Elks on tour. So, yeah, I mean, last night, poor Jill Gillingham was kept busy in the sin bin, wasn't she? A couple of penalties that were quite interesting, and I do give a big apology on behalf of everyone involved with the YKK Widnes Wild and with regards to the clock.
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
The clock has occasionally had the odd stutter, but last night, the second period, it did kind of go completely loopy, and hopefully the third period it was working better, and it is a wireless system, and there must have been a lot of interference in the rink, because normally where it is positioned for a normal Wild game it's fine. It can occasionally have the odd little stutter in the last minute of a game, but that particular game there must have been something causing extra interference with the wireless signal.
The frustrating thing was, because obviously I stand next to Shutty who looks after it, we could see the clock was running, we could see it was fine, but everyone was shouting, stop the game.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where, for the second period, we were actually manually shouting the penalty minutes to each other.
Yeah.
Having to count down.
I mean, I can reassure you that the console that runs the clock will run without the display going, so that is something that's very good about the clock we do have at Planet Ice Widnes. So, in a manner of speaking, it works. It's got all the penalties on there, it's got all the times, it's got all the information everybody needs for the important things, and there is a protocol that can happen, and it has happened at a game I've been at, if the clock is faulty, where the announcer will actually have to announce things periodically during the game to let... it's more for the benches, actually, than the crowd, to let them know when certain things are happening. So, we do apologise. It was a technical issue. It was rectified for the third.
And it shows I need to pay more attention as well, because the other week I missed the very rare Bracey goal. And last night I didn't even realise that Paul and Shutty had swapped round to get the clock working. So I started talking, thinking I was talking to Shutty, and there's Paul sat next to me.
So, no, we thank everyone for their patience, and we are working our best to make sure it doesn't happen in future games. But the celebrations last night... I'll do a last little quick apology from me. The highlights are going to be a little later than normal. That's because I was still in a bit of a half daze after the game last night, but I'm going to try and do a few extra bits and include some of the celebration footage. So they will be going up as soon as possible. But the celebrations last night, what can we say?
Well, absolutely brilliant. You could see what it means to the lads. I'm just a little concerned as where they kept sneaking them bottles of champagne in from, because they kept going into the crowd and coming back with another one.
Well, I mean, what showed was just how many people stayed around. Everyone singing "We Are the Champions" in the stands. It was just brilliant to see everybody making a big party out of everything and enjoying it. And we've been the bridesmaid 3 times, and now we've got the banner to put up for the league title to go alongside the 2 current playoff title banners. But it's not over yet.
Yeah, and as well, I think for anyone who hasn't been there the last 2 years for the playoffs, who only just joined and didn't really understand the game or seen what the playoffs were at the end of the year, that gives a bit of a taste of when it goes right and we do win it, how it is, and it's just an absolute magic feeling.
Oh, and the tension that can build up in that
We're
game.
not reliving Hull last year.
No, please, no. No. I think between Karen Croyle and myself, the nerves for that penalty shootout alone for the 2 of us would be too much, because if memory serves, and I hope you're listening, Karen, I remember she left the building and I was facing the wall praying.
Yeah, it was the only time the person filming it was facing the wall instead of the ring.
Yeah, because it was the one event that I haven't filmed, and we wish BASN well, who, as far as I'm aware, will be covering it again this year.
I believe so. They were there last night having a look.
So yes, it's going to be a big event, whichever playoffs, and if you have to tickets, check with your clubs, of course, and they'll make sure that you're pointed in the right direction, or contact Planet Ice Widnes, and again, you sort out tickets that way. Well, we're almost out of time.
It's been a quick one tonight, hasn't it?
It has, yes. Like I say, this regarding the league position for the future, things are in place. Things are still fluid, so patience, please, everyone. But remember, we've still got plenty of hockey to play between now and the end of the league season. Wherever you go in this weekend, enjoy your hockey. Be loud and be proud for your team. Make it a big party now. Let's make it a party. And of course, there's still 2 places for 3 teams to play for in the playoffs for D2 North. Will it be Hull Jets, Bradford Bulldogs, or Sheffield Senators? It's all up for grabs, and we haven't talked about that tonight. And lastly, I do have to give a little apology for our Widnes Wild women, who we were going to talk a lot more about last week, and we didn't, because we had a lot to talk about with the juniors and up-and-coming events. But there's plenty of action to come from our women's team as well in the coming weeks.
Got a few more shows yet.
Yeah. Well, Andy, thanks for joining me.
It's been a pleasure as always, mate.
That's been great. We're going to play out with a song, rather than one about winning, one about believing, I think. And that's what we've got to do now. Just keep believing. Anything can happen. Anything's possible. So, Andy, thank you.
Thank you very much, mate.
From me, for another week, playing out the Reeves and Mortimer version of I'm a Believer. From Time to Go Wild. Good night.